before there were cell phones that could take pictures, before your parents were born, probably your grandparents as well. The only way people got news was through the radio and through the newspaper. And one time in the newspaper there was an article that came out, and I asked Bethel to put it with some pictures in it. Will you put up the pictures first? And so there were two friends, and they sent pictures to the newspaper that they had taken of themselves with fairies that they said lived in their garden. And there were people all around the world that saw the pictures and they were amazed, and people flocked to their garden because they also wanted to see these fairies. And eventually the little girls came out and said, actually it was a joke. They had made the fairies themselves and they had put the pictures together. Not to say that fairies are real or not, they just couldn't prove it with the photographs. But the person who wrote Sherlock Holmes, the great detective, who you think is a very intelligent man, even he believed their pictures. We can't always believe everything that we see. Do you believe everything people tell you? Everything you see? Especially on the internet these days, people can tell you all sorts of stories. And on WhatsApp, they send you messages. And I got a message the other day to say that they were giving away free laptops to any children at school. And I thought, that's fantastic, because I know a lot of children, their parents can't afford to buy them laptops. And so I thought, this is a fantastic program, but I'm not too sure about this. And they sent an article to go with it explaining where the laptops were coming from and who it was and why it was they were giving them. And I wondered, is this true or not? So I went on the internet and I searched, and eventually I found out, no, it wasn't true. But it would be wonderful if it was, wouldn't it? We can't always believe everything that we see over here. So, in that case, would you believe me if I said I could fly? No. Would you believe me if I said I sang on the stage at the Artscape? Maybe. Would you believe that I had a South African medal for cycling?
Yes.
No. So, we can't always believe everything that we hear. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. The things that I've just told you about myself, well, they sound about as impossible as somebody rising from the dead. Do you know anybody that's risen from the dead? No. But we believe that Jesus rose from the dead. And just as I said some of those things about me might be impossible, well, I did actually sing on the stage in the Artscape. I don't have proof, so you can choose to believe me or not. But I can show you that I have a medal for cycling, which you guys didn't believe at all. But you can believe it because I've got proof. So sometimes we need proof to be able to believe things. And so when Jesus told the disciples before he died that he was going to die and he was going to be resurrected, the disciples thought, that doesn't happen. People don't rise from the dead. And so when the woman went to the tomb and they found it empty, they thought, oh, what's gone on? Somebody must have stolen his body. They've taken his body away. And then later, Jesus came and stood before them and they thought, oh, Jesus really is alive. And so they had their proof they could believe. And they went to the disciples and said, we've seen Jesus alive. And the disciples said, yeah, you're telling us stories. We're not going to believe. But later, Jesus came and stood with them in their room and said, look, you can see it's me. And they believed. But one of the disciples, Thomas, he wasn't there. And when the other disciples said, oh, Jesus has risen from the dead, we've seen him, he said, no, I'm not going to be fooled by that. I want to see Jesus myself. I want to put my hands on the sores on his hand where the nails went in, and I want to put my hands on the side where the spear went in. Only then will I believe. And so a week later, Jesus came and he stood there. And Thomas saw Jesus. He didn't even have to touch Jesus. And he said, my Lord and my God, and he realized that Jesus had risen from the dead. So there's lots of things that we need to be careful about believing. We need to find proof for it. But our Bible is our proof. And we have the witness of the woman, we have the witness of the disciples, we have the witness of Thomas, and many more people that Jesus appeared to. So we know even the impossible can come true. I don't know about me flying. I don't think that is ever going to happen. But Jesus rising from the dead, that's an impossibility that definitely came true. And because Jesus rose from the dead, we don't have to be afraid of dying anymore. Because Jesus conquered death for us. And so when we die, it's just like going to sleep for a while. And then when we wake up, we'll be with all our friends and family and all those who love Jesus. And there will be an absolutely huge celebration. And we will never ever cry again, and we will never be hungry again, and we will never be sick again. And so it's something we look forward to. So even though we've got to be careful and we've got to test things out when people tell us stuff that might not be true, we can trust in Jesus and we can believe our God. Because he didn't just say he was going to do it, he did it. And he showed himself to people and he proved himself to us. And so we celebrate that Jesus rose from the dead and conquered death for us. So we're going to go through to Sunday school this morning and enjoy celebrating who our Jesus is and how much he loves us.